Hey, Sarah here. I am going to talk a little bit about last year's word of the year and the verse I used, and then I'm going to jump into 2021 verse and word of the year. I have personally not had a minute to film this, and so I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm just going to I don't have any notes. I had planned that I would write some notes and be not rabbit trail, but as per usual in Sarah fashion, I'm just going to bring you the video wholehearted, honest, transparent, and probably all over the place as per usual. So let's start out with 2020. A lot of things happened. If y'all follow me over on Instagram, you will probably, I've already seen the post that I posted about my new word for the year. Last year, I started 2020 very spiritually depleted, very mentally low as well. We had gotten out of the military. My husband was in the Army, the United States Army, for around 7 years, give or take. And for different reasons, we decided we wanted to just come back home to North Texas. Some were health related. My husband's health, and then some things that he suffered while in the military that I don't really know if he wants me to go into, because that's basically his story to share and not mine. But anyway, so we came back. Of course, I don't probably need to go into all of it, but as any military family knows, especially if you're going to churches, trying to attend churches, it can be all over the place. Like, most every church we were blessed to be a member of was really good. And of course, a lot of it too depends on each Christian as well, like to maintain their spiritual walk and all of that. But to make a long story short, we came back to the church we had been a member of before we joined the military. And without getting into any detail, not really wanting to go there, we just figured out or learned, and some through prayer, that it just, I'm just going to start out. 2020 was, it was a rough start. And as many of you know, wow. Was it ever? It was a year. It was like, but I'll tell you, with all of that being said, with it being a year, to remember, it was a year. However we want to put that, however bad, however good. When the last day of December came, I was sad to see it go, because I felt like my earrings are kind of giving me issues. My ears are itchy. It was a year, but I really didn't think I was going to get emotional. But I felt like during the year 2020, I became very intentional with my time. I became very intentional with time with my kids, my husband, my family, my husband's family. I felt like I don't want to take for granted seeing them, my grandparents. I feel like this round of COVID, the second round, seems like it's hitting people a lot worse, which is so scary. And so my prayers go out to everybody affected, and that definitely, COVID itself and the people losing their lives is definitely not why I was sad to see the year go. I was just sad because I felt like for a lot of things, like I became intentional, like I said, about my time with my family and my kids, and it was like the simple things, like hugs from family, hugs from friends, shaking hands at church. Church itself became something that we might not always have, something that we may not always be free to do. And I'd always heard that it could be taken away. I'd always heard that our religious liberties could be at stake, but never had I experienced the fact that thought or that possibility could become a reality. And I'm not saying churches closing down because of COVID is a infringement on our religious liberties. I feel like that at times it could be used that way, but I'm just saying, I definitely never faulted one pastor for shutting down every church. I mean, and that's kind of a little bit of, so 2020, like I said, I started it out mentally and spiritually low. And my word for 2020, do y'all see this? He's hilarious. He's such a distraction. He should not be in here. He should not be in here. Anyway, that kind of sounded like a Dr. Seuss book. He should not be here when your mother is out. He should not be here. Anyway, that was like a serious rabbit trail that I don't think even notes could have kept me off that one. So my word for 2020, if I did not say it before being completely distracted, was renewed. I wanted to be renewed, and I have chosen Maverick. No, I have chosen, except let him out. I have chosen words. I used to choose goals. It is snowing outside, y'all. North Texas, y'all, and it is beautiful. Anyway, I'll try to turn y'all around and see it at the end of this video because it's just gorgeous. And I don't know. Here I'm sharing this video about the word that I really felt like God laid on my heart last year, and the word God laid on my heart this year, and the snow is just pouring. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, it's just beautiful. I could watch snow all day from inside. It's really, really pretty. Anyway, but yes, I used to choose goals, a lot of goals. Like I would choose like drink more water, exercise more, eat right, stop eating so much sugar, and basically the way I am in my mind, the way my mental brain is wired, when I didn't stick to it, because, well, you end up having cake, your husband might buy sweets, or you buy sweets, and then you feel like a failure. And then it's like, okay, well, that was crappy, and now my whole year's gone to pot. And that's just basically how I used to be when I chose the goal system. So then about 6 years ago, I started doing the word system, basically choosing one word and focusing on it throughout the whole year. I even got a necklace with the word renewed on it. I have not gotten the necklace with my new word. I don't know if I will, but it's just, anyway, about renewed last year. That was 2020's word, was renewed. And I'm going a long, long time, but I'm going to read you real quick the verse that I used last year. And I get emotional thinking about it. I get emotional talking about it. I get emotional just when you just sit and think about the year and how it played out. Renewed. And Romans 12:2 was my verse for last year. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I wanted my mind transformed. I wanted my joy restored. I wanted to be renewed in spirit. I knew that my mental state was a picture of where my heart was after. And yeah, and there was a lot of things that happened just boom, 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 like right before COVID hit. There was, at the beginning of January, we were already beginning to have problems with our church. Like I said, not going to go into super deep detail there, but we had to move out of our rent house. It was a lot, like right then and right there. My husband actually had to quit working at the job he was working after he got out of the military because of some health problems. And it was just like boom, 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 like here I am, I want to be renewed in the Lord, and just all this stuff just feels like it's crumbling. But it was just like all those crumbling pieces God was going to help put together, and we just had to step out in faith so many times. And I asked God to renew me, and he filled me to overflowing, and I just get so emotional thinking about all the things that God did. And of course, when we moved out of of course, there were some extended family circumstances as well. And then, of course, then the COVID hit. And I remember there being international travel was shut down and some little things were happening. But then we moved in with my mom for a while, and then we moved in with my mother-in-law for the longest period of the time. And we were just going to find a rent house, basically. And we were wanting it out of town, and we looked and looked and looked at different rent houses, and it was just like we were basically spinning our wheels. And at that point, I was even thinking, I'm not gonna lie here, like I was honestly thinking, does God want us to move? Like, does he want us to move like away? Like, there was this one church that we had gone to while in the military, was in Missouri. And I was like, does God want us to move back there? I even talked to my husband about that. Like, do you think that's where, because that's the church I constantly would go back to. In my mind, I was like, that doesn't exist here? Does it not? Does that kind of church not exist where we live right now? I mean, maybe we need to go to it. Maybe we need to go and be a blessing to it, you know? And he was like, no, there's got to be here anyway. And it was like, we moved in with my mother-in-law, and then we immediately found out that churches were shut down. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, when did that ever happen? Like, that's never happened as far as I can remember, as far as in my lifetime. And I was just like, what? But what it did was, it opened up so many doors. And so I just remember praying, like, what's happening to our country? Like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? Like, what is this? I remember thinking all these things, like, are we going to lose power? Like, I remember buying charcoal and lighters, and there was like no toilet paper to buy. And I was like, I didn't even think COVID was causing these kind of problems. But I constantly clung to the verse, for God had not given us a spirit of fear, but of power. I should have written this down and I didn't. I think it's in Timothy. Let me see if I can find it real fast. I think I tried this way back then too. I'm kidding. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Constantly hung to God hath not given us a spirit of fear. If there's confusion, this is not coming from God. This is not of God. We should not be walking in fear. And I've constantly, even of late, don't even need to get into all of that, as of late have clung to that verse as well. This fear is not where we should be. It's constant peace, peace, peace. Jesus reiterates that so many times. Peace, be still. Be not afraid. And I constantly remind myself of that when I find myself maybe following what, being concerned about the future of my kids, my grandkids' generation. Like, what is this world what are we leaving to them? What is the legacy that we are leaving for them? And I am constantly reminded of the verse, which I probably will not find. I thought it was in Timothy. Well, maybe it isn't. But I will try to link it or have it go across the screen since I decided to wing this video. Anyway, I think it is in Timothy. If I'm not, I think it is. But I'm personally probably not going to find it. But yeah, I constantly have this feeling like, what can I do? I feel inadequate because I feel like, oh my gosh, like, what do I need to be doing? What do I need to be doing? I need to be doing. And I'm constantly reminded, whether in sermons, at church, or listening to sermons that I choose to listen to on YouTube or on podcasts or whatever. And I'm just constantly reminded right now to just be still. It was a verse today that was preached on at our church in Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. And just to be still right now. And I feel like that's a great encouragement, not so I can do nothing, but there's great. My kids came to let me know that it is snowing, and it is snowing. And they said it's sticking to the ground, because I told them if it snows, it probably won't stick. I was wrong. They had to let me know. But anyway, they are so tickled, excited. But anyway, I'm constantly feeling inadequate. Like, what can I do? You know, and I feel like a lot of Americans are probably right there. And so sometimes, and it's not that that will always be what we need to do, is to be still. But right now, God has us in the waiting, because there's really, I don't think at this point, anything that I can think of that I need to do besides just take this before God's throne, constantly in prayer, praying over my family, praying, and just praying and praising God. And so many times this brings me to my 2021 word of the year. And I chose this word, I think even back before January even started. But so many times I get to the new year and I forget everything, all the foundations that I laid, all the things that God did for me so many times. And I just choose a new word, like, oh yeah, I'm going to run with it. But this year, I don't want to forget those foundations I've laid. I don't want to forget that renewing God gave me. And so my word for 2021 is resolved. Resolved. I'm going to start crying again. Resolved to remember what God did in my life in 2020. To remind me that God renewed me. That I asked God to renew me, and He renewed me. And that is something to always remember. If you want something, or if you have a need in your life, ask God, and I have no doubt that He will answer it and He will give it to you. It says, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. And I feel like it's the same with salvation, you know. You know, if you are seeking salvation, I mean, I have no doubt that God wants you to be saved. He wants everyone to be saved. That would be His will, is that everyone be saved. But of course, oh my God, my dog's going to cry. But of course, not everyone is going to trust Christ. But I want to be resolved to remember. I want to remember 2020. I don't want it to be soon forgotten that I was once low and He lifted me up. That He helped us find a church that is just beyond anything that I could have imagined that we would be a part of. It's just, I can't imagine ever taking it for granted, but I never want to take it for granted. He gave us a house in May of 2020. We were blessed to be able to buy a house, and it was like so much up in the airness. Like with my husband being in prior military, we were trying to get a VA loan, and it was just my dog is gonna cry. He's gonna sit there and cry. You're gonna make me cry. Come here. What are you doing? Yeah, and so with several banks, we didn't think we were going to get a loan. It was just kept saying, no, no, no. It was like when I walked into this house, I was like, I knew it. I wanted this house. It wasn't just that I wanted it like selfishly, like I have to have this no matter what. Obviously, if it just doesn't work out, then it's not going to work out. But anyway, while I'm turning to my new verse of the year, I was just kind of wanting to say a few things. But yeah, it was just, I want to remember. It's a year of remembering. Resolved to remember, to move forward for Christ, to move beyond what I learned in 2020, to remember where I came from, to remember how low I was in 2020, to how low I started the year and how far with God's help I came. It's just amazing to me. Anyway, my verse is in Acts. And it is Acts chapter 11, verses 23, who when he came and had seen the grace of God was glad, and exhorted them all that with purpose of heart they would cleave unto the Lord. That with purpose of heart, I want to live with purpose for Christ. I want to live for purpose and on purpose. I want to be not just, I want to be filled with purpose. 2020, I needed to be renewed. And I think a lot of us, if nothing else, I felt like 2020 showed us like where we are in life and what things are important to me. At least that's what it did for me. And I feel like it did that for a lot of people. I'm seeing that resonating throughout Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm seeing the things that people are important to people. It seemed to be like really coming out. It's really cool to see, you know, God doing works in people's lives. But I want to live on purpose for Christ. Like, I don't want it to be like, oh wow, God made that happen, but I wasn't really looking for that to happen. That's amazing when that happens, when you're not really looking for it and then it just happens. That's kind of a God gift. But I want to be looking for the blessings. I want to be looking for the promises. I want to be not only looking for them, I want to be digging for them. I want to be serving and just, you know, getting down and working for Christ. And I had said that I wanted to read the Bible through twice, and that would be amazing if I got to do that, but at least once through this year. Last year, I was really graceful with myself, and I read back and forth kind of different books, different chapters, whatever was needed. I gave myself a ton of grace because I was just wanting to be renewed in my spirit and in my mind and in my soul, just all over renewed. And God renewed that, and now I want to move forward. And I have no notes, so this is all over the place, and I hope it helps some of you to kind of, I hope y'all can make sense of some of this. I know, like, Maverick, he's still crying or whining. But they probably have the front door open looking at the snow, and I don't want to chase my dog down the road in the snow. It's freezing out there. I'm not chasing you out there if you get loose. I don't want to chase you. And if he gets loose, I'll have to chase him. Because he's gotten funny about that. Because just recently, he used to be able to come out with me to the car just fine. Like, he would come, or if we were going to leave somewhere, like, I wouldn't even have to put a leash on him. But I would just have his collar on, and he would just come, and I would be like, come on, get in the car. And he would just like, boop, he was just ready. He would just come out of the car and jump in the car. He was ready to go, hit the road. But now, he just decided he likes freedom, don't you? He's a whole backyard to run around in, and he's decided he just likes to run down the road. And I'm afraid he might not come back. Look at him. Look at your sweet face. Oh my gosh. On that note, I think I will end this, and I will be talking more. Maybe some of what I'm learning from God's Word. I would love to share some of that with y'all if y'all are interested. I hope this help somebody. I hope that I can make sense out of it. It's kind of all over the place, but last year's word for 2020 was renewed, and this year's is resolved. Resolved to remember to not lay again the foundations, but to build higher and to increase in my learning and my walk with Christ, to deepen it and to live for to live with purpose and on purpose for Christ. And with that being said, I'm going to end this so y'all don't have to hear any more of that whining back there, because he wants out so bad because he knows that they have the front door open and he wants to go too. I know, he's going to tell me. You want to go outside, don't you? You go outside and run around in the snow. You can go out in the backyard and run around in the snow, which I will directly let him do. And once he goes out, he will realize it is freezing cold and he will march himself right back in. With that being said, hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.